So hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Have the Race Gone. My name is DirtenDK, and it will be my utmost of pleasures to take you through yet another round of the Nukeshot endurance series. We are here for the second week here at the Kyoto. The full layout, the Miyabi plus the Yamagiwa, both circuits combined layout, whatever you want to call it. And as I mentioned, we are here for the second running week, and that means it is the split two race, and that of course in turn means that we have the LMP AM field running alongside the GT3 Pro field, of course. And hello to all you lovely heads in chat. Hello to Armored Core, Mika, Apple, Joe, CJ, and Nilse, of course, also joining in, and anyone else watching, of course, also a warm welcome to you here on the channel. And loading screen always means a coffee sip. Oh, I was actually behind there, I see. And it's not gonna hold me back. Anyway, let us just get right underway with the grid walk. On the pole position it is by proper NES AM class. Needless really to say any more about that. I think I'm struggling for new things to say about Nils. Just the fact perhaps that I've said it before, but he should probably get in the pro split next season. Anyways, Gugas in second position, also on the front row in that Martini Toyota. Then it is Jim in P3 in that Cadbury, the Britannia Cadbury Peugeot. Then it is Ninja Karma in fourth position, the teammate of Nilseman in the RLA Mazda. And then Series Organizer of Apple in fifth position and last in the LMP field today. Which leads us right on to yet another returning event, the pole position of Stevie. Even though the dominance of Stevie hasn't been as strong last year, and say that dominance, he's not actually been leading the championship so far, so it has been quite something of a battle. We've seen him, I'm saying that, I'm just going to say real quick that we've seen him have one race where he wasn't that strong, maybe even two at Monza and Dragon Trail. Then he had connection issues. I think it was at, I don't even remember where that was now, but he had some connection issues at some point also. He's had some bad luck, and then of course we've also seen him be at his absolute best. We've seen him ruling races from start to finish. So it's not like we haven't last season, of course, CJ. You know what I mean? Of course, it's not last year, but half a year ago. It's a long time ago we did season 3. Anyways, Joe of the Fire in the Atenza, the red and very green Atenza in second position there, British 1-2 there. And then in third position it is Trouse 666, the smooth boy in his Aston Martin. So just right behind teammate, like literally right behind, not of course right behind on the grid. Don't take it too literally when I say stuff on that. And could say the same about myself, right behind, there you see, Joe of the Fire in fourth position. Then in fifth, it is, of course, CJ in the iconic Wasp. Can we call it this by now? I think we easily can. The yellow and black vert design of this season that has really made a strong impression on followers in the series. You happy now, CJ? And then, of course, it is Armored Core not really having the expected pace in his Sliders Motorsports Toyota FT1, also the B team of Vert, of course. So kind of a team lockout here, you could say, on each row of the GT3 Pro field. And with that said, let us just get the drivers off on that formation lap, because it is in turn gonna be a very long one around here. It is, we're looking at around about 5 minutes of a warm-up here, so plenty of time to go through some different stuff, yeah. And also, yeah, Joe completely correct on that one, that this will be the last race of the Wasp. We will have CJ doing a late season team switch to the Sliders Motorsports team. Probably because he wants to drive something else at this point of the season, and also in turn probably to prepare for season 5. If he gets to be able to choose the FT1, of course, that is. We don't really know how the rules are going to be. So Nilsemann pole position once more, as we mentioned in the grid walk. It's really becoming a recurring theme here throughout, and really not that much of a surprise anyways. As we have a look at the GTs, we expect a close battle here today. Expecting a really close battle, and of course the championship battle is also hot at the moment between Joe of the Fire and Stevie. Stevie, who has slowly been catching up over the course of the season, as Joe of the Fire has been very consistent but not necessarily as fast or as strong around each race. So it'll be interesting to see how that battle pans out today. Trials having a great qualifying session, not really being on the pace for most of it, and then at the very last minute setting that excellent time to put him third on the grid. So looking very strong here today. The Astons, I'm not going to talk too much about myself. I had an okay qualifying session, but it wasn't really anything special. CJ in 4th position there. Of course in 5th position, I'm sorry, and he probably would be feeling that he could have done a bit better. The Beetle should expect to be strong here, with its stability and acceleration being absolutely amongst its fortes. And then, well, we know that the FT1 is a very top speed strong car, but it's not really a top speedy track here anyways. And I think it also shows, even though I'm a bit surprised to see Jim in that Peugeot 905 actually being able to out-qualify Nilsemann in his Mazda. Expected the Toyota of Gugas to be strong in qualifying here, but didn't really expect the Peugeot, non-hybrid Peugeot, and also rear-wheel drive Peugeot. Mind you that the Mazdas do have 4-wheel drive also, so it is indeed also going to be interesting to see how this one pans out. I know Off-Apple wasn't expecting too much coming into this race either, knowing that he was going to be on somewhat of an advantage. Of course, in the LMP AM field, it is Nilsemann who is leading by a large margin in the championship. If I'm not completely mistaken, it is actually Ninja Karma in 2nd position. I might actually go have a look at at the standings. But anyway, as we see in lineup now, so standings are going to be something we're going to do mid-race, because we are going to be focusing on what's happening through the start here. A difficult and technical first turn there, the very fast left-hand sweeper. And especially in these high downforce cars now, it's a role that Nilsemann knows very well. And go full throttle. And here he goes, pedal to the metal. Gugas just uses that hybrid boost to go right around the outside. Keeps it patient there, but goes also very wide there. And they're side by side here through the first turn. Coming up through the S's. Seems to be Gugas who's on the line here as he takes the lead. Ninja Karma up into 3rd position there in front of Jim there, with Off-Apple clearly already falling a bit back. Still not all the way to the line there, the GT, so we're going to follow them through the second left-hand sweeper. That is the LMP field, of course, here now. Gugas leading. Nilsemann, they're side by side here. And Nils is seeming to try to at least outbreak. There's contact between Ninja Karma and Nilsemann. So the two teammates make contact there on the first lap. As we have the start has gone in the GT3, and Stevie gets a brilliant run. So does Trials 666, as both the Masters run wide, and CJ's up into 3rd position. So a lot of action there through that turn 1. Now Armored Core looking to get past the car of Joe on the Fire. Might actually do so. I think he does. He is indeed up into 5th position, so a horrible start for both masters here. Now, still Gugas leading away the LMP AMs. He seems to be on a very good race pace here, having really created a gap for himself down to Nilsemann and Ninja Karma in 3rd there, having gotten brilliantly away now. As we're having a run with Jim as he goes wide and around on the first lap. Oh, and Apple just managed to miss him there. And was that? I think that was a rage quit there as Ninja Karma back in 3rd position has a major moment there. Let's go back to check in with Trial666 in 2nd position. He's still close to teammate Stevie and they are pulling away. So the perfect scenario right now is playing out for those 2 Aston Martins. Looking also to really play into their hands in the team standings. So now it's myself putting on the pressure onto CJ there. Both Astons seemingly just running away at the moment. Still Gugas in the lead, but not really pulling away from neither Nilse or Ninja Karma, who seems to be able to keep up through the technical sections. At least there, Nilsemann goes a little wide. And in turn, Gugas really gets to deploy that hybrid power as he's now pulling away from the German. So a strong start there for Gugas as Stevie comes out to their 2nd lap. The 2nd lap for the GT field here. Looks to be absolutely flying the Brit, the reigning champion. Teammate Trials in 2nd with myself now gotten past CJ. And if I recall correctly, that happened on the run-up to the last corner. And now it is Trials who is next up in line. So a Danish battle now, a co-host commentator battle. That was what I was looking for. The battle of the commentators for 2nd position, with CJ still in the mix there. Joe of the Fire just a bit away behind, and F's out for Armored Core, who has gotten some heavy damage here, I think. Let's just have a look. No, not even yet. So seems like he saved it, but he has lost some time. So my apologies to Armored Core for looking like going so slowly that I thought he had damage. That's quite a diss, actually, to be true. Well, anyway, still Gugas in the lead in the LMP AM field. Nilse in 2nd position still, so status quo pretty much. Off Apple having lost some time there. Stevie seeming just still to pull away there. And it's getting quite close now between myself, Trials, and CJ. And in the order of Trials, myself, and CJ, of course. Trials defending that 2nd position, and in turn also letting his teammate get a very, very decent run away there, as he does go defensive coming into the last corner. And now it is absolutely 2x2. I was just trying to catch up on what was going on in chat. There was a lot of messages that I had not really written there because there was a lot of stuff going down, and it's still a very close battle for 2nd position here. As I was just about to say, it's 3 cars within 2 car space there. Certainly you would find, you'd be hard pressed to find any closer racing than this at the moment. Trials still holding on through the 2nd sweeper. And of course now I realize that the chat is debating Season 5, which at some point when the race cools down a little bit, I'll be more than happy to join that discussion. Anyways, CJ getting a little wide now. And that is one of the absolute dangers of this track, is going wide on the exit of corners, because the grass right there, and even also the AstroTurf on some occasions, can be so slippery. And the speeds that you'll be going is on many occasions also quite large through these corners, so just a bit too much understeer, and that is the recipe for disaster. We have Off-Apple cheering for Trails. Trails doing a very strong job in second place at the moment, holding up the contenders and holding on to a podium spot himself, while his teammate is just escaping up the road. Now it seems like Joe of the Fire is also catching up to the gang ahead here. So an interesting one, as Armored Core ever just seems to fall behind. Not the Armored Core we've seen as of late. Now Nilsman having gotten a little closer to Gugas there. Ninja Karma still in third position, but he has also lost some substantial time, and Off-Apple is a long way back compared to last time we had a look around there. I don't know if it was something F-worthy, since we haven't seen it, but yeah. So Nils is seeming just to claw his way back onto the tail of Gugas. Very much seem evenly matched, these two at the moment. And Stevie there also just creating a very good advantage for himself. Trials and myself still locked in that battle for second position, as Trials take the narrow defensive line here. As I turn, attempt to get a cut back there on him, but go just getting afraid of going too wide, as I mentioned before there, and then coming down towards only one of several hairpins here, one of two. Could say the last corner is also a hairpin, but I tend to disagree on that one. There is, of course, 3 hairpins on this sector, but it's a very long and very technical circuit. And you'd wish that some of the corners had names here, because there are a bit too many just to number them and remember what's what that way around here. The third left sweeper. We're on to the Miyabi bit of the track at this time. Still very close there, and still also in turn Joe of the Fire and CJ also getting hot for battling at the moment here, as Joe of the Fire thinks about having a lunge up the inside. CJ goes a little deep into the corner that might allow Joe of the Fire to get a better exit upon him. But I think he just manages to take out the momentum of Joe of the Fire by just being there in the way. See if we can keep up with both. Better there, but we're not gonna miss that move by Joe of the Fire. Brilliant defending there from CJ, just cutting him off within the limits there. And there is a pass, or something that could look like a pass. Yes, and I'm through, up into second position, still really close there. Trials seeming to get the exit. Oh, and there's a lot of stuff happening. Oh, CJ goes off. Oh, the Fire is now up into P4, so some seconds of heavy action there, as Gugas also pits in. And that should be a little bit early. Let's see what is up with Gugas here. Tire change, and there he goes. So it is just a tire change. Super soft for him. Puts him down into third position at the moment. And Trials in turn back up into second now. So really a lot of stuff happening here. Well caught that one before. CJ did a great job there. Yes, we have Nilsman passing the GTs there. Oh, and he goes very wide around that sweeper, but manages to keep it in. And Gugas coming up behind now as well. Oh, as Gugas has a big moment and goes very, very deep there. Almost takes out Trials by the look of things. Seems a little bit too desperate there. Big moment there for Gugas. Maybe knowing that he's gonna pull off something extra if he's gonna match the pit strategies of Nilsman and that master. There is Off-Apple in fourth position in class, of course. Gugas now coming up to lap. Stevie, the GT3 leader, There, he gets that done. Let's go back. Trials now. With quite a lead. It seems I've made some kind of mistake, or maybe just was slow through traffic there. Joe of the Fire, 4th position in class, and he is going strong consistently as we know him. Just a steady dance for the witty professor. CJ there, down in 5th now, having suffered. Oh, and there it goes wide once more in that same turn, and that will maybe almost put him down into the clutches of Armored Core here as he suffers the lack of grip having just been off. And is he gonna dip into the pits after this one? He certainly is, and Armored Core pits in also. And in turn we also have me coming out of the pits. I think Stevie was also in this lap, and this in turn leaves Trouse in the lead at the moment. But of course, Trouse still having to get his pit stop done and over with here as Nilseman is consolidating what looks like a lead there. And I think it's Gugas catching up to Ninja Karma, and that will also just play into the hands of Nilseman, of course. Because if he can pull away from these two while battling, it might be the overcut then working for Nilse. We might just see him coming back on track in front of Gugas, but Gugas, oh, he looks to get a move on, and he certainly does there. Ninja Karma certainly doesn't have the grip to be able to turn in that late as he wanted to there, and Gugas up into 2nd position now. As Stevie is closing in on Trouse, so just a swap in front with the 2 Astons. Joe of the Fire now in 3rd position, but he has also yet to pit as Off Apple is making his way through. But of course, Joe also having not really pitted yet. The Half the Race dog gets excited. He wants to join the stream, I think. Having a look with CJ on his way around, a little bit of way back. Of course, not still too late for him to make a return with less than 20 minutes past of the race. Mind you, this race is an hour long, so still plenty of times for stuff to happen here as we go on board with Joe of the Fire, the witty professor, on his way through the last corner. And Trouse pitting in there. Joe of the Fire is doing the same. And that of course leaves Stevie in the lead once more. It also in turn is going to leave myself in 2nd position with Trouse in front of Joe of the Fire. And then CJ and Armored Core in 5th and 6th position, of course. CJ, that's exactly a happy dog. My girlfriend just returned from work, so it's a very happy dog. It's the happiest dog you'll ever see, probably. So that wasn't the best of calls.
I'm not your girlfriend, bro.
Oh, it's the Trouse one. It's the smooth one. He is here, which means that the Half the Race dog is probably even more excited.
The dog is going absolutely crazy.
Hey.
No one was expecting this.
No one was expecting this. Is the biggest surprise moment we have had yet on the channel. Join me in a position that feels more comfortable. I'm just gonna move the mic.
A struggle of affection with the dear Stella.
So let's see some hellos for the smooth boy as he's in the house.
Hi,
and let's fetch him some headphones.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I never wear them anyway.
That's true. I just like to have us both look like we're taking it more seriously than we should. Anyways, welcome to Trials. We are on lap 8, 20 minutes into the race, of course. That is also with a 5-minute warm-up lap. It is right now Stevie leading myself and my co-host with the most right now in third position, right behind, but on a strong pace with Joe of the Fire fourth, CJ fifth, and Ahmed Warren sixth. And Gugus is back into the LMP AM lead in front of Ninja Karma as Nilseman has been into the pits. And Off Apple isn't really having the day of his life, it seems, in that diesel non-hybrid Audi. The rear-wheel drive one seems to be suffering a little bit, and he is in fourth position. So back from a dead weekend, I dare say, of Christmas parties, what's called Christmas lunches or julefrokoster in Danish. It's one of the times of the year where people get the absolutely most drunk, the drunkest.
Oh, absolutely. I believe a lot of stuff that should stay in the what evening happens in the what evening, as you say.
Yeah, definitely so. So let's have a look with Gugus, as he seems to be going very strongly at the moment. And he's really consolidating that lead because Ninja Karma is there, and that in turn means that Nilseman... Oh, Nilse is right behind. They were so close that you couldn't even tell them apart on the map. And I wonder if we're going to see some team orders here now between these two here as we go on board with Nilse. Coming down towards that final chicane as we just see Nilse almost getting it very wrong there. Such a difficult chicane, that one. A horrible one indeed. Absolutely got to be one that you just hate.
Oh yeah, and I'd say even more so in the LMP cars that it's so hard to get right, and it always feels too slow when you go through there. So bad, but also so good.
Indeed. In the GT cars, it is not so bad because you need to slow down less and you lack less downforce as well.
More mechanical grip relative to your speed, so it does feel a bit more comfortable sometimes.
That is absolutely true here. Ninja Karma, Nilse now seeming to get the run, and hello to Phil Denty. Welcome and good evening to you.
Hi there, White Flight as well. Welcome to this broadcast.
Oh yeah. The Norwegian known face. Known face. I don't know if that's...
This is some crazy side-by-side action going on here.
This is getting really close, and Nilseman having gotten through there, but Ninja Karma doing a great job of keeping up with his teammate. And we're waiting to see just when Gugas decides to pit in. And be interesting to see, because I think Nilseman did a lot of refueling there, as we've seen him done before on his pit stops. He doesn't sometimes takes a weird...
Yeah, puts in a lot of fuel early maybe to try to have shorter pit stops later.
Yeah, that might be it.
I'm not sure about the math about it, because you'd have to carry all the fuel, but it seems to be working for him.
It seems to be working, but I would say we'd also seen CJ pull off similar strategies here, and Ninja Karma has a big moment there, just as we saw Nilseman have the lap before. Let's check in with the GT field, and it is Stevie. Oh! Trals, Joe, and CJ, and that means hazard lights, F's out, because I've just been off in turn one, and I'm now quarter of a way, third of a way through my lap here. I'm gonna lose.
A shocking turn of events.
Yeah, shocking turn of events. We've never seen this before.
I reacted to it so strongly during the race that Stevie thought I'd crashed for a second.
So that now put Trals cleanly in second position with a nice gap down to Joe of the Fire. CJ being gifted fourth position here as Armored Core having also retired, so a retirement in both classes at this moment. And that is true indeed. The witty professor mentioning that this is our lowest attendance race, I think, indeed, throughout this season.
Yeah, not the most packed we've had for a while. We've been fortunate to have pretty much close to filled gaps, grids it's called, for a while, and the last few have actually been filled, I believe.
We had a full grid at
Tokyo.
At Tokyo, indeed, yeah. And hello to Stick. I hadn't seen that you joined us, but always nice to have you along in the chat. And just to answer your question, we are using weight ballast as a success ballast in this series, and we're using it so you get 3% added weight for winning a race, and you get 2 for second place and a single percent for third place. And then after 2 given rounds during the season, the ballasts are reset, which will actually just in turn be after this round.
Yep.
So at the next race you'll see at Interlagos, the drivers will only be carrying what ballast they pick up from this race. So that's an interesting one, of course. Stevie there looking so strong. It's the Stevie we've come to know from last season and from most part of this season, save for a couple of races. But he is hammering away, and sometimes I want to say he makes it look easy because he's so composed. He keeps the car cool. He has very little knee on the edge of stuff. Although I really know that he is, because you can see obviously he's going a lot faster than everyone else in the class. But he does so in a very smooth way, and it's impressive to see.
Yeah, it always looks very effortless. I know he feels very, very comfortable on this track as well, so I'm not surprised to see him just blasting away here from the beginning.
So now we have had Lucas in the pits, and some way behind both Ninja Karma and Nilseman now. So we're closing up on the half the race gone marker, not quite there yet, still a couple of minutes to go. Still the 2 masters in front, very close together, locked in tightly there within a couple of seconds. So a really strong team effort from the RLA team there, I must say, looking very, very nice. And Stevie having a pit stop here, and a very short one indeed, as he is already out once more. And yet again, that just about leaves you the space to overtake the lead, albeit just for a couple of laps.
Yeah, I want to say somewhat frustratingly, because no doubt that Stevie was faster here, and I wanted to not get in his way. And what happens here every time is that I'm on my last lap as he's on his first. So he's going so much faster that he almost catches me midway through the lap. And how do you figure out what to do? I'm on a different strategy. I'm going to pit anyway. So that caused a bit of frustration during the race, I want to say.
On board with Joe of the Fire. Still, that's of course Stevie. Just for a second I thought that was you in front. Still does have visual contact with you, but that's also only just, as he is some time back here and really need to up his game just a little bit. CJ in 4th, and myself now a long way off the back, having made that pit stop. Long pit stop for engine damage. As I mentioned before, just went a little bit wide in turn 1, and don't think it was more than a couple of centimeters, but that's basically all you need to lose, well, basically all the grip there that the tire has. And,
yeah, it looked like it was only the rear right tire that just touched. You just saw a tiny bit of dust, but it happened so fast.
Yeah.
It's one of the fastest 45-degree turns I've seen in GT Sport.
Yeah.
The one you did. Impressive stuff, but also disappointing.
Very disappointing indeed. Very disappointing now, looking so strong there. Look at that. A pretty picture indeed with those lovely livery Astons. And you can really see the difference that those fresh Super Softs makes for Stevie. So wonder what they're gonna work out here, those two. Maybe he's just gonna stay behind until Strauss pulls into the pits.
Fortunately, this pit stop wasn't too bad. Some of the other ones were closer than this, and this one he only catches me just at the last, the difficult chicane. So that gives him. It's such a small amount of time that he's able to just stay behind and get a bit of slipstream before I dive in. Joe goes in along with me, and so does CJ.
CJ also in here. Then one of the LMPs just passing by there. That is the car of Gugus. And CJ with plenty of time to get out ahead of me. So this is, well, it's looking in the GTs like Stevie is running away with this one. As we've reached the half the race gone marker, he really needs to mess things up pretty much on his own, or be the victim of some sort of traffic-related incident for him not to win this one, because he does have a very healthy advantage, and it seems more down to whether anyone will be able to catch Trials for a second. Joe of the Fire mentioning that he did perhaps go on the wrong strategy with the super softs that did seem to die a bit too fast compared to their racing soft counterparts, you could say, or it is sometimes a little bit weird, because on some tracks it's very obvious that the super softs are the fastest tire, kind of the meta, and then just occasionally on these long twisty tracks like this one is, you'll just find that the gaps between pit stops just all of a sudden become too long, and you'll have one lap sometimes that'll just be on completely dead tires, where you can lose up to 4 or 5 seconds on that single lap, which is always going to be absolutely horrible.
Absolutely. It's always very hard to figure out, because it relates to how long the pit time is as well, and what the effect of a pit stop is on the delta. And I think I was certainly considering going for a harder compound than the super softs until I figure out how long the pit time here is. Because of the length of the straight, it's about 4.5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I don't see any other option outside of going on super softs, even if it was only for 3 lap stints, because the pit stop is so short, it doesn't matter at all. At least if you ask me, I would have gone with super softs all the way down.
Yeah, but I also did the same. I went super softs all the way, because I also figured that. But I also feel that perhaps the wheel users might have the advantage here. Because what we're seeing is that the wheel users were actually able to go on the super softs, and the pad users were stuck on the softs, simply because it seems that wheel users not necessarily able to go faster at all, but is able to go at the same speed with less input, or a more precise input, which is quite obvious if you think about the scale of inputs and everything. It makes very good sense that a wheel is a little bit more precise than a pad in those terms, and we've seen it before also just about with Stevie, who's an absolute master of that tire wear. Also yourself doing a very good job here at this race, I have noted, of keeping those tires alive, and actually doing some of the longest stints there on the super softs. And I had trouble keeping my tires alive for the needed
Yeah, but that was also what I noticed during the race. I don't know if it was something to do with the setup on the Aston or something, but as Joe mentioned as well, there's a very heavy drop-off for most of the other cars in the GT category. There's more of a drop-off after like three, maybe 3.5 laps. Suddenly your times just tanked.
Yeah.
And that didn't seem to quite happen as much to me and Stevie in the Aston.
No, but that's true. It seemed like you were very, very constant on your pace here. Still Gugas behind the two Mastiff, but as we see here, it is actually closing up now for the LMP class. Off Apple in 4th position still. We have a question from Phil Dempsey as to how many in this race were using a pad. Well, as far as I'm aware, I think it is the entire GT or LMP field at the moment is on a pad, and that would be, I think, Joe of the Fire and CJ as well of the Pro.
Well, to be honest, at the moment, I believe it's just you, me, and Steve with the wheel.
I think some of the other guys, Wake and some of these guys might be on the wheel as well. At the moment racing,
in this race.
I think it's true, it's Stevie Trials and I.
It's a funny coincidence actually, when you think about how competitive this race is, this series is, that we have so few wheel drivers in it, even with the full grid.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually true.
And as Joe mentions, Crazy John is of course the crazy Greek, so he's running motions steering on his wheel. On his pad.
He's using his pad as a wheel.
Yeah.
You could say. We've heard him complain about cramps in the arms when the races get too long.
Which I can understand, having to hold your arms stretched out in front of you for an hour.
It must be CJ, maybe, I think he's got, maybe that's why he got so fast. All of a sudden he just got this other overarms, his biceps and all got big enough.
He started working out outside of racing.
Exactly.
Racing in itself was enough of a workout. We don't know.
Now what we're seeing is the split really appearing throughout the GT field now, with Stevie with a sizable gap down to yourself, and yourself in turn also with a sizable gap to Joe of the Fire, and CJ just looks to be around the same amount of distance between, so really just a battle of lap times at the moment here. Closest actions we have, I think, is in the LMP class. Nilseman still leading, we've seen before, but now it's quite close here between Gugas and Ninja Karma. So let's see if Gugas will be able to catch up to the French monster in front. And Apple calling us rich boys.
Never in my life.
Never in my life.
Been accused.
Oh, as Gugas goes off.
Gugas.
As we completely missed that one. No. Oh, F's out for Gugas.
Gets caught out by the boost on those grassy tires as well, and doesn't recover as he would have hoped to. That's such an expensive extra mistake to make. F's for Gugas.
Big F for Gugas there.
Just as we were watching this battle building up and heating up.
So now in turn we also have the split having happened in the LMPA field thanks to the incident of Gugas there. Luckily for him, it seemed like he was able to avoid really having damage. Car still looks to be okay, but certainly playing into the hands of both the RLA masters there of Apple. Where is he in all this? He is quite some way behind at the moment, even behind Gugas there. So no threat really from behind at the moment. It seems to be that that R18, non-hybrid R18, is really struggling around here today.
Quite a bit of a wobble from Apple there. Was that an attempt to warm up the tires mid-race? I wonder, it seems a bit wiggly here at the moment. Oh, it doesn't seem to affect his lap time though.
Oh, with the personal best there. As we are on board with Mr. Trouse himself, coming down into this very difficult right-hand hairpin that just eases off.
Yeah, very difficult to get right, especially in the GT3 cars, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think no matter which car you were in, unless you for some reason picked a front-wheel drive car, you were struggling for grip coming around there.
It's so difficult because you want to get the power put in as early as possible, and it's just the balance of, oh, it's such a difficult exit to get right, and you can really both win and lose quite big amounts of time. I mean, easily drop half a second there.
But a very interesting corner as well, coming over into the GT3 cars from the LMP cars. Speaking as a driver, having done that move just now, I feel like even in a set car you have like 3 or 4 lines coming through there, but then switching from one car to another. It's certainly not the same line, and it can be hard to figure out which one's the best. I guess.
So now, with Stevie having done his pit stop a lap earlier than yourself.
Yeah, we've been following that rhythm since the first stint where I did 6 laps and he did 5.
But intelligent teamwork not to pit on the same laps. Actually, it both covers you in from any potential undercuts from behind, but also in turn.
Yeah, it was more just a case of me wanting to stay out to see what happened with the other racers, and I had people close to me, and Stevie was a bit ahead, so I felt like if any one of us was gonna do a slower stint to start with, it should be me. Maybe I could slow up the competition or something like that.
Yeah.
Also, I had a feeling that we'd need to do at least one 6 lap stint instead of just 5 lap stints on the super softs.
We have both Ninja Karma and Nilseman in the pits. Nilse is fueling 71% of fuel in that tank. Does he really need that much to get to the line? Or
that's quite a lot for 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Or does he just want to play it safe? You see Ninja Karma there only with 58, but he might just be playing it safe there, Nilseman. Gugas now, as we mentioned before, he is just a bit of way back. And Trout now, well, leading, but teammate Stevie very close behind. And Trout is about to pit, I would believe, on this lap. Joe of the Fire would also be pitting in turn on this lap. CJ has also just been flying under the radar since early this race, having had a couple of issues there through the last sector of the track. As he doesn't always go in deep, but in that case he certainly went very deep into that hairpin. And now, as I mentioned before, here the last chicane where he has had his amount of problems, but seems to get it right this time around.
Pushes it quite far onto the curb. That's brave. I didn't really try to push too far onto that curb. I felt like you slid wide quite easily. Here is I pit and Joe gets ahead from that.
And that means that Joe stays out an extra lap there with just under 20 minutes to go now.
And this is the point when I realized and Stevie realized as well that Joe was going to try to switch it up and see what he could figure out, changing his strategy up a bit. And I think I wasted a bit too much mental energy wondering what he was doing, which I probably shouldn't have. That's the stuff that happens when you've been on your own for a considerable amount of the race.
Yeah. I certainly feel like a lot of racing was done on one zone. We can just have a look in with Trials here, because he's now closing up to Joe of the Fire. So for once, these two are actually not on their own, and it might be that Joe makes the pit stop before Trials catches up to him. But I certainly would think that the tire advantage that Trials gains here on this lap is going to be so great that it negates any kind of advantage. Of course, he could be out with such an advantage come to the absolute end of the race, Joe of the Fire, but as he goes wide there.
I'm pushing quite hard here. I'm pushing quite high here actually, because it was quite important for me to make up this gap quite quickly and also try to show that I was on such a fast pace for the first few laps that it wouldn't really work to try to stretch anything. So I really wanted to catch him before the pit stop, and you see I've done just that.
And as we come through the left hairpin here, Trials has caught up to Joe, and Joe gets a little bit slidey on the exit. And that gives Trials the run down towards the final chicane. He'll have outside and then the inside, so that is the line to choose, if anything. When they're side by side, but they're still side by side there. That's some great stuff.
Yeah, Joe putting on a great effort here, defending from my attempt to get past immediately. I do so, which might be kind of pointless, because I suspect, Joe is into the pits.
And if you're hearing a strange squabbling about through that microphone, it is, of course, Stella, the half the race dog, who has decided to very physically join us.
Stella's joined the studio for the first time, and it's out of pure elation for the fact that I showed up late.
She was just. She was just, as she always is, pretty much just relaxing until something happens, and then she gets very excited all of a sudden.
Yeah. Very considerate of her not to bark anymore than she did when I entered. I think I heard like 3 barks. That's at least a tenth of what we have normally. So, thank you, Stella, for being so considerate of half the race going. Yeah, and interesting to note, now we've moved away from me, but I actually lost like 3.5 seconds on that lap. It shows that maybe I shouldn't have been so aggressive against Joe, but something happened in
Gugas with a very wide line there through first sweeper. He is still in third position. What looks to be just around, well, 15 seconds, maybe a bit more behind the leading cars. Or that is actually behind Ninja Karma, it seems, on the map, because Nilseman is even further ahead there.
Having just set the fastest lap of the race, the 1:56.6, which is blisteringly fast.
Yeah, he's just plowing along that Mazda. The Mazda does seem very strong on this track, so planted.
Absolutely, as long as you get very fast, long corners, the Mazda is very happy.
It is.
It's so balanced and has such a nice downforce package.
And those Astons also looking like the real deal today.
Yeah, absolutely. We were quite confident coming into this. This is a type of track that suits the Aston quite well.
So 14 minutes of racing remaining, and it is still Nilseman leading the LMP Anfield with Stevie leading the GT3 Pros. And he has done so since the flag was dropped, and hasn't really looked like anything else was about to happen today. Stevie has been absolutely dominant in class.
I think it's right around this point he says in our team party chat on our team radio that he's worried that it might be quite a boring race to broadcast, which I don't agree with, but I can see why he'd think so from his perspective. He's basically been on his own all the way through, only passing me, and I was obviously trying to get out of the way as much as I could anyway.
Gugas now exiting the pits for what probably is his last pit stop.
Gugas, who's obviously trying to salvage as much as he can here, so I'd expect so as well. You tend to see some of the very, very short stints towards the end, so you can run super softs with low fuel and try to set a really fast time for that one extra point.
Yeah.
I don't think Gugas is in a situation where he wants to do that, but let's see how that works out.
And we have Phil Denty mentioning that he wishes that the replay mode had the delta times.
Oh yeah, amen, amen, Phil.
I mean, we've asked this question.
If I could have one wish for Christmas, it might actually be that tiny little bit of code that would let us see the gaps.
Yeah. Joe of the Fire really pushing here, as he also mentions himself, just as I mentioned it. But yeah, it is quite a shame that they just can't seem to add it, because it's already there when you're just watching the race, and it does seem a bit weird that the replay is not really able to capture on that bit of information there. Still Joe of the Fire, he is in third position in class, CJ fourth, and myself in fifth. Only 9 cars running at the moment, and as we mentioned before, that is the lowest amount of finishes we had this season.
To be honest, I don't feel like it was the worst track to have a bit of a low, a bit of a small grid for, because it was so difficult last week with more of a packed grid.
Yeah, with something like 10 GT cars or 9 or 10 GT cars and 5 LMPs.
Absolute
horror. It made for absolute horror passing through that field there, that entire field.
And that's speaking as an LMP driver, where all things considered, you do have more control over your own destiny than you do as a GT3 car, because some of these guys, obviously the AM guys, are going very, very fast as well, and sometimes you don't even really have time to recognize that they're coming before they're moving past you.
That is most certainly true. Let's have a look with off Apple as he comes in towards the last hairpin.
Apple's had a bit of a race to forget as well, but maintaining that steady attitude towards it. Definitely the guy I felt most comfortable around in the traffic on this quite difficult track.
So what Stick? Oh, Apple there getting sideways. I think what
shrugging off the curse of the commentator.
I think what Stick is mentioning is that the gaps should be in here, and as we can see, they actually are on the live timing. It's just that
it's even worse then.
Yeah.
That means
I was just about to
easier. The mechanics.
It's already it is there.
It's just not added properly.
So that's actually quite frustrating to think about. Anyway, it's nice addition there, Mr. Stick there. Stevie coming in for his last pit stop. Just under 10 minutes to go. And it is going to be a very short one for him as well. Just a little bit of fuel to be able to last him. What will be, I suppose, will be around 4 laps. Perhaps 5. And once more, Trials. Makes you think, could he have gone for the long last stint there? But not a chance.
I think he was considering it for a little while, but it would take a change of tires, I think, or something, and I don't think that's what he's looking for.
No, most definitely not. And the Aston most certainly makes a great noise.
I have to agree, it's such a nice sound car, especially from the outside.
Oh, Guga's there, getting very close to the back of Stevie's car on the exit of the first sweeper. And that could have been a very dramatic addition to the race had the two made contact. It is Trials right in front of teammate Stevie.
Yeah. Once more, we have this bit of a deja vu situation going on. It's not the first time we've seen this through the race. This time he's close, a bit earlier than we'd want.
So this is probably what I wanted to do before. You go quite wide there and very considerately leave the space for teammate on fresh tires to pass.
Yeah, it's quite difficult not to feel a bit of stress when you know you have the quickest guy in class right behind you on completely fresh tires, and he's your teammate and he's your friend. So yeah, I was stressed out. I was just trying to push as hard as I could, not get in his way. And the second I felt the slide, I just like straightened out the steering wheel and gave him the space and shouted for him to go through.
As we go on board with CJ as he comes up towards the last hairpin here. He has a very steady job here throughout the race, but hasn't really been able to make up much time on Joe of the Fire. Just seems he's kept the gap pretty much. Oh, as he has one more big moment, just about catches it once more, as he's also in turns been able to do pretty much every time around, but he has.
Meanwhile, I'm back out of the pits and I'm actually further ahead of Joe than I was fearing, and probably than Joe was hoping. The gap is still quite considerable, and he was pushing. I know Joe was pushing all the way through that stint, trying to make up the difference.
Now with you two on level terms, tire-wise, pit-wise, I would imagine now, or does Joe need to pit once more?
He wouldn't be needing to, I don't think. He might be considering the option of it if he doesn't close down the gap, but just to set a fast one.
But in turn it would be...
But not on his regular race strategy. I don't think he would be needing to with less than, well, about 7 minutes to go here.
All right, well, that is... As he also mentions himself, that he didn't make it out in front of Trials. That was his strategy, and it didn't work out. And that also, in turn, pretty much means settling for first position and perhaps the opportunity of putting in the fastest lap. He wants to go for a fresh set of Superstocks here come the end of the race, but it will have to be now because there is only just about 5.5 minutes of racing remaining, so we won't have many chances to do so. And it is, as he also mentioned himself, as I would call it, that Trials is flying away on fresh tires at the moment here from Joe of the Fire, not really having a chance to just see that gap is very, very visibly growing here as Joe of the Fire, he just disappears out the back.
It's funny that you say it, because I actually think this is pretty much when I realized that I have second position in my hands, is I go wide through that corner and I watch the gap still grow, even though I make a pretty big mistake.
Yeah.
And that's when I realize, okay, as long as I don't actually crash, I should be good here.
Yeah. definitely so. And Joe mentioning he's probably gonna, let's see if he comes in this time around. He does come in for the tire change. And as Trials mentioned earlier, a pit stop around here, especially tires only, is gonna take you just around 4.5 seconds. And he even gets a shot of fuel there, very short one, and he's out again. And by the looks of it, it seems to be that he'd probably finish faster, even with 2 laps remaining.
Yeah, I'd say he probably gained time by doing that, which also shows how insane that pit straight is.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of the shortest pit lanes and pit straights that we really.
Even though the straight is actually quite long, which is Polyphony, please fix.
The straight isn't bad. It is long, but it does take.
I mean, come on, man! It's a pit stop with tires, and it takes what 4.5 seconds.
Yeah, that's not.
That's insane.
Yeah, that is insane.
That's Formula One speed, and that's disregarding the fact that you have to hold a certain pit speed.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird. And they just, I mean, they recently had. So Joe off the fire, third in class, and it seems to be his fate today. Gugas now in third position, and as the dog is barking in the other room, having a look here, as said before with Gugas, very close to the end of the race. It seems that it is going to be a 1-2 victory. CJ off. The CJ seems to be going just fine still. Stevie's into the pit for a very late pit stop indeed. That doesn't leave Trials the chance anyhow of passing. And Stevie just needs to keep it composed to the line to claim this victory, and it has been looking like that for a while now. Joe off the fire is on fresh tires. There is CJ mentions that he wiped out at the Miyabi circuit. He certainly is, because he certainly did, because he seems to be pitting in. And it's for fresh tires, a little bit of fuel, and let's see, no repairs, just coming in there. But still out in front of myself, so no changes in turn either there. Follow Nilsa around and getting close to the last 1.5 minutes of racing. It's going to be very close whether he's going to make another lap or not.
He's almost 2 seconds down on his fastest time, so it's going to be hard to call here.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard to call on this one. I'm not even going to try to make an attempt. Ninja Karma looking strong there, second position. He has had a very, very uneventful race, I'd say, so far, at least from the looks of it.
A very pleasing thing on this track.
Yeah.
I felt very safe around him.
Yeah.
Safe.
Could very well be last lap. Gugas, he has had kind of the opposite race. It has been up and down. He's been leading. He's been very fast.
I felt very unsafe around him.
But he's also been maybe feeling a little bit.
Did we catch? It was before I ride. Did we catch when I make an accidental cutback on him?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we did.
Did not feel safe there.
Stevie there. He will in turn make lap number 26. And I think same will apply to Trials, of course it will. As he passes the finish line, coming on to the last lap. Joe off the fire, he is just about gonna make that extra lap as well, but it's not gonna apply to any of the rest of us there, just with a second to go.
Setting a very fast lap though, with 2:13.9, he's certainly pushing on those super soft tires.
He is going for it, very much so. As Nilseman takes the checkered flag once again in the LMP AM split. He is looking like the man to beat that in turn no one is able to beat this season. Very, very dominant.
Completely dominant.
From race to race and week after week, he's just looking so strong. And also in turn in the GT3 AM split where he's racing in the Corvette, he's also looking very strong indeed. So kudos to Nilse there. Ninja Comet, his teammate, rounds off a perfect race weekend for the RLA team there, for the RLA Mazda. Race like airplanes, race like airplanes. Gugas their third position, rounding off the LMP podium with
frustrating result for Gugas.
Must be
that last crash.
Kinda must be
ruined everything.
There's off Apple here down the finish straight of the Miyabi circuit. Stevie. It's gonna be a race to the line between himself and Off Apple. And I don't think Mr. Apple is gonna make it, even though it is probably gonna be close.
Oh, and Stevie just goes to the faster.
On the last lap there, what a time it would have been to just spin it and throw it all away. It wouldn't have been very much like him there, but Stevie A712.
Yeah, he wanted that fast lap. Check out this time. Oh, it wasn't even a 13.6 in the end.
It was a 13.6.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I said I wanted to say it wasn't even that fast, but a 13.6 is very fast.
It's very, very fast indeed. But Stevie takes the victory from lights to flag with just another perfect race for the Astons. Just like the Masters taking a 1-2.
Yeah, a double 1-2 today.
And Joe of the Fire finishing right in front, or not right in front, but finishing in front of CJ and myself as the last finishers in the GT3 class.
Nice little shot there from our early battle.
Yeah. It could have been what could have been.
Yeah, I was so disappointed when I saw that crash, because that was certainly our battle of the season, and it's always nice to have a good battle with your mate.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, and also being that we know each other quite well, on track as well as off track, but definitely
you go quite hard against each other without feeling too unsafe about it. Unlike sometimes with other drivers where there's a bit of an unknown variable. We certainly feel a bit more comfortable and understand what we're trying to do.
Very much so. Very much so. So, big congratulations, as I said before, I guess, to Nilseman and Stevie, our winners today.
Absolutely.
Such strong performances from both lights to flag victories.
Yeah.
In both classes.
A bit unsurprising, I want to say.
A little bit unsurprising indeed.
That was who I'd have put my money on before qualification even. And that's what happened.
Indeed. As Apple mentions, we have the ballast reset, as I also mentioned, swiftly during the race, meaning that when we will be back next week with the first of the two races from Interlagos, it will be ballast free, or it will be with the ballast that was picked up today, which means that it'll be Stevie, yourself, and Joe with 3-2-1.
A very poor time for both the Masters and the Astons to do a 1-2, because we're going to have quite the deficit to everyone else come next race.
That's true, and especially at Interlagos, where it actually really makes a difference to that middle sector.
Absolutely, that twisty part really hurts, both tire-wise and time-wise, with ballast.
Exactly. So, of course, having concluded this race, I'd say that this was one of the less eventful races of the season, to put it in a not too down, not to put it down or anything, but we had the split happening quite early on, and
every time it almost felt like when the battles were really developing, something unfortunate happened. Gugas was coming up to Ninja, we weren't sure what to expect there, and off goes Gugas. I was coming up to you, and the battle was back on between us. And you crashed, and we didn't really get what we were hoping there either.
No, that's true. And that's also true, Joe. Of course, much less eventful due to less participating cars.
Hopefully next week and onwards towards the season, we'll have even more luck with filling the grid. But obviously, between real life and everything else that goes on, we can't always guarantee that everyone has the time, and there wouldn't really be much point in having 10 reserves to make sure that it's always filled.
No.
Who would want to be reserve number 9?
Exactly.
Or 10.
So with that said, I think there's just to say that we will be back on Wednesday with the weekly run of the Super GT series. It will be the second to last race of the going season, and it'll be from Circuit de Catalunya. Which is not in Italy, of course, so I don't know why I said that in a very strong Italian accent. Even made the Italian hand gesture and everything. So, but it's going to be an interesting one. And of course, we'll be back come next week, next Monday, with more NES, with more Nukeshot Endurance series, and also stay tuned on our Discord and Twitter, because we'll be giving out news about the next IGTL event shortly. It's sometime shortly. It's being planned
in the future.
So stay tuned.
Exciting stuff there, ladies and gentlemen.
Very exciting.
I think we're able to reveal that much.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to following up that.
And as our lovely moderator, Apple, just points out, we just reached 300 comments, so kudos to everyone.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. You've been so great today. It's been great to see all the, I was just about to call them old regular heads. I'd say a more precise way to address these people is probably the racers of the series, the guys who've been with us since absolute day one of this channel, and but also it's really nice to see so many of the newer faces that have been joining in on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for actually keep tuning in, for returning. That really pleases us. It makes us so happy. And it makes running the channel all the more fun to see such a live chat on our broadcasts as we've had today with 300 messages.
Sick, y'all.
Sick.
It's off the hook.
It's certainly been a lot of fun. And I think with that said, I think, all there's left to say is that until next time, my name is DirtenDK.
I'm Trail66.
And take care, have fun.
6. Have a great good night, guys.
6.
Every time one of us has to say my name, we don't say with the right number. I don't get it.
No, it's true.
Take care, everyone. Have a great evening.
Take care. Ciao.